What up, guys? This is episode 11 of DJ Talks, and I'm Johnny.
I'm Dan. What's up?
All right, so this episode's gonna be really short. I'm gonna keep the intro short. We're still trying out different things, but we're gonna see how we feel about shorter episodes. This week is gonna be part one, very likely a part one episode of a discussion about a video game that I've been playing a lot of, which is NieR Automata or NieR Automata, however you want to pronounce it. I've been in love with this game, and I've been wanting to tell Dan about my experience with the game and my thoughts on it so far.
Yep.
So we're going to use this as an opportunity for me to talk about my thoughts on the game, why I'm enjoying it so much, and explain to Dan what are some of the elements of the game that makes it so special.
All right. So I'd say first off, how did you get into the game?
I really didn't have a reason to. So I had a friend in college who was just like, "Oh, this game's amazing." I'm like, "Oh, fucking weeb!" I'm looking at the game, and it's very anime styled. It's a JRPG, and it's a game about an alien invasion on Earth that drives human beings off of the planet and onto the moon. So then the aliens create robots that kind of take over Earth, and then there are these androids that are in space who are also robots, but they are designed after humans, and the androids fight the robots in NieR Automata to try to reclaim Earth. That's the premise of the game. I didn't know any of that buying the game, though. I just heard it was a really good game. I heard that the soundtrack was really good, and that it was just a JRPG, and I'm like, I guess I'll give it a try. It was 35% off on Steam, so that was a better sale than a Steam summer sale, which was only 30% off on the game. And I didn't even look at any reviews. I'm just like, I just feel like buying it, so I just impulse bought it.
And just by the way, we are not sponsored by this game, of course. but if you want to sponsor us, we're open to it.
Yeah, man, we're always open to the idea of anybody sponsoring us, but with this production quality and the way we're dealing with this, there's no way.
Hey, it's possible. Maybe one day some random person will watch this and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna sponsor these guys."
You're fucking hype if we ever got a sponsor for anything. But
all right. So, how long have you put into this game so far? I know you've been playing it forever almost, and
5 hours. I have.
How long?
5 hours.
5 hours. Okay.
No, 45.
45 hours.
40. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So apparently, the way the game's set up, you're gonna want to play through it 5 times, because every time you play through it, you'll take on the role of a different character, one of the different main characters in the game.
Okay.
And then you will find out more about the story, and it'll advance in a different way. So then, it actually takes about 40 hours if you're just playing straight through the story to get through all 5 endings. But I've been taking my time with it. I've been doing side quests. I've been grinding for EXP and stuff. So I've been a lot slower. But I'm on my 3rd run through now. So I'm working on getting to. Oh no! I'm on the 4th ending now. Actually, I just hit the 3rd ending the other day. I think I don't actually know which ending is which, because it's hard for me to tell sometimes based on the way the events unfold. But yeah.
Okay. So is this like an open world kind of game, or kind of like a what would you be comparing this best to?
Yeah. So it's kind of like an open world game. It's not fully open world. When I think about open world, I think about Breath of the Wild, which was my first exposure to an open world game. And the way I understand it, open world games generally allow you to interact with almost everything somehow. I know that in Breath of the Wild, Link can climb everything. He can cut everything for the most part. His weapons, his items can interact with a lot of the world.
Yeah.
In here, it's open world in the sense that I can walk from here to there, and it's a pretty big environment, but I can't interact with every element. I can't climb everything. I won't be able to walk on every ledge of a building, for example. And while there is a lot of mobility in terms of the way you can move your character, there aren't as many options to explore the world the way you can in Breath of the Wild. That said, the 2 games are very different in how they try to accomplish things, because NieR does a lot of things in a very unique way that I've never seen in any other video game, where the camera angles will also change depending on what kind of mood the developers want you to feel,
Mm.
and um, your battle style will change based on how the story is what the story is trying to tell you. And this also comes across with the soundtrack as well. So um, in the game, when you're running around, you'll explore different environments and different areas,
Mm-hmm.
and based on you asked about like the open world element, based on whether or not you're inside a building, based on whether or not you're in combat, based on even if you just
Uh,
finish the quest, the music will change, and it'll be variations of the same song, but it'll be more intense and it'll be more violent almost in the way the song is played, or maybe it'll slow down and then maybe you'll hear lyrics. Those are elements that kind of instill different types of emotions in the player, and I definitely felt that when I was playing.
mhm.
This is a mood that I was intent, like this is the mood and the tone that was set for the scene. So, um,
What? Okay. What would you think is the highest reason why or best reason you could tell anybody why you enjoy this game specifically? That one specific overlying, overlaying, overlying reason,
searching,
overarching, whatever that word is, over
yeah, um,
reason why, or what do you love the best about this game? Is it like the music? Is it the gameplay? Is it the kind of different way it's played? Or like the
okay.
style of it?
I think okay, so I think the story is really good, but I
Mm,
don't want to say that is my favorite thing because I haven't finished it yet,
okay.
and because I don't know the ending. I don't want to say it's like an amazing story, right? Um, I think that the soundtrack is definitely one of the biggest things for me, but right next to that would be the presentation of the game and how it's played, because there
Mm,
are a lot of very little elements and gameplay changes that draw you into the game and make it feel very unique. For example, it feels a lot like a hack and slash, but it has a smoothness of a hack and slash, but doesn't have the repetitive feeling of just like grinding and battling all the time. And then the combat style changes based on where you are. You can go from one scene of being on the ground with a free moving camera fighting robots that are attacking you,
mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden you could be crossing a bridge, and then the angle will change so that it looks like a side scroller, and you're fighting left
Yeah.
to right. And then you can jump on your mobile flying battle unit, whatever, and then all of a sudden you're like playing like a Galaga sort of game where you're like shooting up your screen at enemies
Okay.
coming down. So there's a lot of fluidity in the way the game changes and how you play as the characters, and then you'll also change perspectives sometimes within the game itself. So like maybe 1 minute I'll be playing as one of the characters, and another minute I'll be playing as a different character. So I think that those elements combined with the story that they're telling and the music over it make it a very unique experience. Especially with the fact that the game is very the game challenges ideas of ethics and existentialism. Because you're drawn in and you're like, oh, this is a really chill game, and I'm an android. I'm just like fighting robots,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden they just start dropping these like really fucked up ideas about the world and how machines could potentially live in a civilization, and then the way the characters talk about the machines' interactions, it makes you feel like, you know, it makes you wonder what you how you perceive existentialism and how you feel or how you may perceive um, the idea of what the future could potentially look like with the growth of like AI related stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so this is really vague, so I want to touch briefly on what I mean by that. So
So before we continue there,
let's go for it.
um, I want to kind of almost summarize what it sounded like from me. It sounded like a couple of things. You really enjoy kind of the overarching storyline or overarching storyline right now, as of right this second. Even though you haven't fully
Yes.
finished the game, the style of the story is super interesting. music wise, soundtrack wise,
It's so fucking good.
it
Holy
is
shit.
very good.
It's
So, and then the different, it's almost like it sounds like the different ways that the gameplay happens
hmm
and the constant changes, even though it may seem like a hack and slash, the constant changes itself makes it so diverse and unique so that you don't feel like a stale, continuous hack and slash kind of game,
Yeah,
right?
no, I think you hit it. You hit the nail right on the head. Especially with that last point that the game is very dynamic,
Mm-hmm.
and there are a lot of things that are happening all the time. Um, Something that people don't like about the game though is that because you have to play through it a couple times, there is a feeling of repetition. Like, oh, I played through this once before. I've seen this cutscene before. Um, I don't really like that argument particularly because you can say that any game gets boring because it feels repetitive, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like that's kind of like the blanket statement for why you wouldn't like a game. It's kind of like it just seems like a cop out answer or a reason
Right.
not to like it. Um, Another thing that some people don't like that I personally really like is that you are not going to get the full story by playing straight through the main events of the game. You'll get the full story and context for the game
Mm-hmm.
by doing side quests, by talking to other characters that are a little out of your way that you have to go look for.
Yeah.
Uh, I found a lot of pleasure in doing that. I know that some people were bothered by that they wish that they got the full story or more of the story from just playing through the main objectives and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that little picture thing where it's like um, a game is played. So there's two different types of games, or in two different types of ways you can play a certain game. So a
Mhm.
lot of people did like a Grand Theft Auto style. It's you can go straight through, straight line down the entire main story quest, or you can take this windy road, and you'll see this. I think a meme of it, like just pathing all the way around every single possible side quest, or The Witcher, or like any first-person game, or one-player game. It's just and that sounds kind of like that. There's like side quests, there's main story, but you can kind of get the whole picture if you play some of the side quests, or you can get some interesting stories at least with the side quest, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, for sure.
very cool. So that's one con that you said. It's kind of like sort of repetitive in order to get the full story.
hmm
Now, are there any things to watch out for? I guess
Oh
what
man.
you may consider, hey, this may not be your kind of cup of tea if you don't like this kind of thing. What is it about NieR Automata that you could
Uh,
say to our audience that they shouldn't, or potentially maybe, might not like about the game itself?
Sometimes you'll feel that the camera is locked into very specific movement, and it doesn't always feel good because you might feel limited in your mobility options. Therefore, it might be hard to find the correct direction to go in, even though you can only go left or right.
Yeah.
Sometimes there were stages where it felt difficult to like navigate certain maps.
Hmm.
I know I got lost heading from one place to another, even though it was just like a really long bridge. There's also like one castle that you eventually find that is a little hard to navigate just based on the colors. Some people don't really like the presentation of the colors in the game because sometimes they're a little dull, sometimes it's a little too much of the same color. But I think that it's very much revealed later that they're very very strong visual elements of the game. Um,
Okay.
I know that it might be difficult for some. I mean, it might have just been me like when I was younger or something, but like when there are major visual changes in a game, uh it would be hard to kind of play through it. I guess an example of this in NieR, without giving out any spoilers, is that as a robot or as an android, you are a robot by nature, which means that you might have malfunctions in the way your system works.
Hmm.
So there are visual cues for that, and you have to continue playing the game with some of these visual cues for a certain amount of time. So that
Interesting.
might make it difficult for some people to enjoy. What's really cool though is that sometimes those malfunctions will spill over to like the pause screen. Like I'll pause and I'll go through my menu and try to like equip different items and weapons, and I'll see like there are also glitches and other malfunctions on my pause screen, which I thought was like They
super
take this game very
yeah.
seriously in the way they present it. Um, yeah, so I guess that's something else to look out for. But
Okay.
if you're like, if you, I don't think it's that bad. I think most people will be fine with it, if
Hmm.
not everybody. But there are also some really like freaky elements of the game that like might make people feel uncomfortable. So there's one scene where, or a couple of scenes where you eventually meet some robots that have formed a cult, and
Okay.
um, yeah, so they're very serious about this cult, and I think the visual elements and the voices of those robots are very
Uh,
moving because a lot of what they keep repeating to you throughout the entire stage is that you should kill yourself because you'll become a god. And they kept saying that we're all gonna kill ourselves so we can all become gods. And then there are a lot of like there are scenes where you're like walking through the stage and you can't really interact with them, but you just see it like a bunch of robots just killing themselves and they're repeating this and they're chanting this and it like it's freaky. It's
mhm.
really like creepy, but it's like I don't want to say it's thrilling, but like it got me. I felt like because I was a little freaked out by it, that the game is doing a good job at telling me how I should feel by my character seeing these robots.
You were impacted by the actual gameplay and the storyline almost. Like, the fact that's what I say about anything. Like if it's a really good actor, a really good animation, if you can feel a specific way purely based on either their voice, their acting, or anything like that, they've
Mm,
done a really good job. Like if they meant to do this specific way and they did it purely based on just their voice or the animation or the acting or whatever it is or the music, they've done a really good job already on that scene specifically. And it
yeah,
sounds like you have a lot of those areas or places in this game that kind of can almost evoke this emotion out of
and
you,
usually
right?
with games, like I'll have to sit down for a couple of hours and like settle down, and then I'll be emotionally invested. Like last night, I played for like 2 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to get through a specific part of the game, and then uh, a major event happened that kind of triggered that just made me I felt in that moment what the developers wanted me to feel. I think the game just does a really good job at making you feel like you have a connection to the story and the characters, even though there isn't a lot of backstory on the characters themselves, which is also a criticism of the game that
Mm-hmm.
you don't get to know the characters as well as you would like to because you grow so attached to them and because you get so used to fighting with them.
Okay. So let's go overall summary of this game. What would you say is a good summarize to summarize how this game is played? Give a quick outline of it. Boom, boom,
You'll
boom.
you'll play through a game where you're going through a story that feels very light and very straightforward. And the soundtrack supports that the by letting you know like how you should feel, and it kind of sets the mood while you're exploring the world. And when you hit endings, every time you hit a new ending, you'll learn a pretty dark like fact about the storyline,
Mm-hmm.
and it progressively gets darker and darker. So I'm at the point where I think I'm learning so much about the game. It's really thrilling to find out what happens to the characters and what happens to Earth and things like that. Um, but I think the game does a really good job of making me feel like I'm connected to the story. That the visuals are gorgeous. In all the battles, all of the battle actions are in 60 FPS, so it just feels really smooth. And I think that um, it doesn't feel dry. It doesn't feel repetitive. It's a very unique game experience, and I'm really glad that I'm playing through it so far. So I guess that would be like a really overall summary of how I feel about it, my impressions with it.
Sounds good. Now, rating it out of all the games that you've played in your life so
Oh
far,
shit.
even though you haven't played too much of it this game,
hmm
out of 10, what would you rate that?
It's easily like an 8 or 9 out of 10 right now.
8 or 9 out of 10. Okay.
Yeah, I would dock it for like random frame drops that feel kind of bad, or like there's still like a couple of little bugs that I found that's
Hmm.
like not game breaking but a little annoying. But I think that like there's just so much that the game does in making you feel a certain way and making you think things and kind of having you question
Your
the
wife.
existence. Yeah, no, seriously. I was like,
Yeah.
I came in. I'm like, oh, good soundtrack, attractive looking anime type characters, and like a JRPG. And now I'm like rethinking my life, and I'm thinking about like philosophical
Oh
ideas of
shoot.
existentialism. And I'm like, what the hell, man? So, yeah, it's easily like an 8 or 9 out of 10. I'm pretty sure that I'll enjoy it more once I get to the end of the story if it's as moving as it is. If the ending sucks,
Yeah.
that's gonna drop the rating. But
All right. Well, overall, it sounds like a super cool game. Sounds like whoever is interested really in emotional kind of storytelling almost, but at the same time, diverse gameplay. I mean, they should check this game out
yeah,
overall, and especially the soundtrack of it. From what I've heard, it's super amazing. Not just from you, but also from other people and from videos itself. So, yeah, whoever's out there, it's still on sale right now until the
oh, is
25th.
it?
Yeah, till the
Oh,
25th. I've been keeping track of this specifically. So, people out there, check it out till the 25th. By the time this video's out, that'll already be.
it'll be the 25th when this video
It'll
goes
be
up. So I can put
20.
it up in the morning of the 25th, so that like
Yeah.
anybody that actually watches it will like maybe catch it.
Hmm.
I also didn't talk too much about the storyline itself
Right.
because I wanted to avoid spoilers. But when I finish it, I'm gonna try to like summarize general things about it.
Yep.
Maybe in a part two version of this, but
Yeah, no, we'll
yeah.
we'll do a part two of saying, hey, overall, what are our thoughts? I'm probably gonna try it out as well, so maybe I'll
Oh yeah, dude.
throw out an opinion here or there. But this is a new style that we tried today. Shorter form, quicker video, not an hour long. If you guys like it, maybe we can do more gameplay or game reviews type things. So
Mhm.
let us know in the comments below or message us directly, whichever way. And like, subscribe, basically. Same things always, blah, blah, blah. Any final thoughts, Johnny?
Nah, you hit all the bases, dude.
Sounds good. We'll see you guys, or you'll see us next week.
Hopefully, you're tuning in. But yeah,
Thanks for watching.
thanks for watching.